Bigfoot Collectors Club presents
Wet Hot Alien Summer 3 Saucerama.
Saucerama.
I thought I saw a flying saucer.
Saucerama.
Flying saucers.
Saucerama.
Beep beep boop boop.
Wait, that's one classic saucer.
Saucerama.
I love
You
it.
do the horse math. You know, I feel
Applesauce heavy, but I love it.
I feel like I don't want to say I'm going to say we. I'm sorry. I feel like we've lived up to this theme song this summer. I feel like especially in my writing, well, listen.
Oh, is this a humble brag?
I'm justifying the beep beep boop boop in this week's story of high strangeness.
100%. You don't have to. That's so
That's
cute.
one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, me too. You don't need to justify that. Now, applesauce could use a justification.
I don't know.
or two.
After the Brush Creek flying saucer story, I think it's been justified.
Applesauce adjacent, yeah.
I think the only thing we haven't had this summer is horse math.
That's
Hey, horse math is
At
constantly
least not
happening.
worked into
horse math
the-
is really a part of your daily
Really,
life.
it's
Yeah.
true. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. That is the science of Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Yes.
Is horse
Hundo
math.
P.
Look, you do the horse math, you know?
Yeah.
Decide for yourself.
Decide for yourself. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history, sometimes, not today, and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host.
Hey, guys. Bryce Johnson in the
And
house.
your ultra-terrestrial producer.
Riley Bray.
Hello, boys. We are back in the clubhouse. There's
I love it
no guest this week.
Just your boys.
This is a clubhouse hang with the boys because we are getting into the thick. Say it. You were doing it before we recorded. The thick of our August deep dive series. This is the invasion of the flying saucers, part D.
Yeah.
Actually, that's right, Macho Man.
Part 2, my favorite part.
I'm really sad though because we only have 2 weeks of Saucerama left.
Wow, the summer is flying by.
It is really
Flown by.
Isn't it
Flying
flying?
by?
It's flying
It
and
is
flown.
flying. It done flown.
It's fly.
Like a saucer.
Yeah, exactly.
Flies.
Blink and you miss it. How you boys doing?
Good.
Let's have a little emotional check-in at the beginning of this.
Okay.
How we feeling? We've been spending a lot of time in the 1950s going over the classic era of flying saucers. Between 1947 and 1960. How are you guys feeling about UFOs at this moment in time? And how are you feeling about flying saucers in particular?
Yeah, I'm mad at the Tic Tac. I mean, just not as fun as the classic flying
As a
saucer.
flying disc.
Where's where I need some portholes, bruh.
Yeah.
I want them portholes. I want them like tripod landings, and I want to
Well,
see
as
those.
we're
little,
learning, pillar landings.
Pillar
Really,
landings.
central
I
pillar.
never even thought about pillar landings
they were-
until that
Watch
movie.
Those movies.
They
yeah.
were very popular back then.
I guess so, apparently. But, I want to see pilots, and I want to see crazy little spacemen in weird trousers and spacesuits.
Yeah, I think they've gone the way that we've gone, where like no one's flying these UFOs anymore. They're all drones.
Yeah. You think
I don't think they're gray. They're not grays in those Tic Tacs zipping around
they're
the
just
Nimitz.
drones zipping around.
There was that one in
Although
Turkey.
grays could be drones.
Remember that one in Turkey that I love,
Yeah,
where
but
you
that's like
see
the
the
90s.
pilots? That's the 2000s over the Sea of Marmara. Yeah,
That's a mother-
2003.
That's a classic.
That's like, what was that, 7? Here's some
That's
horse
the
math.
video that Bryce
That's
will.
21 years ago.
He's shown it at our live shows at least 3 times.
Wasn't
now.
that a dentist or something that shot that?
Yes, that's right. That was
we go.
actually, his name was Roger Lear, and he was a podiatrist.
Right,
That's
that
right.
was
He
it.
worked out of Thousand Oaks, and apparently he was attending a UFO conference. And at the end, someone was like, "So you're really a podiatrist?" And he's like, "Yes." Okay, well, okay, this is gonna sound weird, but so I was abducted, and there's something in my foot. Can you get it out?
That's it.
Yeah, and he's
This is like episode 6
Yeah,
territory.
we're
Yeah.
just, let's just
And
redo
so
that one.
Yeah, and actually, Jeremy Lockyer Kenyon Corbell made a film about it, Patient 17, before he made Hunt for the Skinwalker. So yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I don't want to veer too off, but yeah, what do you guys? What's your take on those sort of
We done veered.
We're
my
done
brother.
veered. Yeah, let me.
We veered back into a thing that you've talked about 8 times on the show.
You're gonna want to come back on the highway.
This is how you really know when the paranormal seeped in, when it just becomes sort of ranty.
It's just stuff I
repeat.
think about.
I guess what I was trying to
Oh my God, that's our show.
What I was trying to
Ranty.
ask was
No,
like,
it's not.
what are our
We're
thoughts
better
on the
than that. It's
1950s flying saucer thing? Have they changed?
Yes, they've changed. Yes, Riley, what do you think about that?
Clearly, they've changed.
They've changed. Yeah, they're Tic-Tacs and mostly
TikToks and
TikToks. Yeah.
I gotta get this back on.
What do you
my
think,
rails.
Riley? Are they as fun as the 50s or not?
No, I'm enjoying the retro nostalgia of
Yeah.
this era of flying saucer, and I did really enjoy the miners of the story.
I think Brush Creek's my favorite so
I have a
far.
question that
Yes, sir.
might be on
Great
topic.
characters.
Until today. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we're starting to think that maybe the 50s influenced UFOs or vice versa, right, through popular culture and cinema, what type of cinema and popular culture do you think is influencing the more tic-tac shaped vehicles?
I think like Mac stores. I think like
That's a
malls.
good point.
They're emulating the
Yeah.
Dude,
magic
you're-
mouse.
I think AirPods.
You're being facetious, but
No,
that's not bad.
I'm
No,
actually
it does.
not.
It emulates the design sort of form.
I think the minimal,
day.
the minimalistic design form, which again was very mid-modern century. Like it's very like a lot of our style aesthetic comes from the
that
50s.
actually
today,
makes sense.
you know. But I think like a lot of like, you know, we're trying to make things look retro futuristic right now, or in the case of. God forgive me, like the Tesla truck, like very pixelated and retro.
Okay.
Brutalist.
And also like PlayStation 1 era retro sci-fi.
You segue that perfectly too, because I was going to ask, well, what happens to the pilots? But as we see, as technology progresses and something like cars where they're, eliminating drivers because they're driven by AI, there you go. There goes the pilots to these things.
Yeah.
That's what I said 10 minutes
you
ago.
did.
Yeah, you did, but now I'm just getting it. you know?
That I know.
That's from
I
horse
know.
head to horse tail.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
give him time, but he gets there.
He's in horse time.
yeah.
Man, that's wild though.
Bryce has been in perpetual horse time all summer.
Every minute we stay here is 3 hours of horse time.
But that really makes sense. So what's the next evolutionary progression of it? Do you think?
It'll
UFO?
be like completely psychic. Like
You got to be like an energy.
it'll be
form.
like an energy form completely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, I want to remind everybody to
figured that out.
swing by the TeePublic shop, tpublic.com/Saucerama, because when Saucerama ends, so does the Saucerama merch.
Yeah,
Oh.
and including coffee mugs and hoodies. I ordered
I saw in the
2
email
coffee
somebody
mugs.
ordered. Okay, good. You
Yeah,
did.
I
yes.
ordered some stuff for some friends as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I've gotta
I
have
order
my coffee
almost
mug.
at a time.
Because I actually store them now, and now I've got a nice little collection of. They're sort of reminisce. They give me nostalgia of the podcast. Are my little BCC logoed coffee mugs?
I know. I
Well,
love them.
I want to let everybody know, Club Scouts, if you haven't done so already, the Saucerama merch leaves Earth on Tuesday, September 3rd.
Boop.
So you have until Labor Day weekend, Labor Day itself, to get your stuff over at tpublic.com/Saucerama. Okay, we have our deep dive, but before we dive in, Riley, please nominate our 5-star Club Scout of the Week who
I
left us
love these.
a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, which helps us get the show to more people.
Well, let's nominate Ricky0777.
What up, Ricky?
And they say, do you love the paranormal? Quit scrolling. I love the BCC. I discovered this podcast during the pandemic, and I haven't stopped listening. My girlfriend has PTSD from the intro music. Honestly, same. Especially the drum part that plays after the break. I listened to it all day while in lockdown, so it was definitely engraved in her mind. Are you from the CIA, Ricky? Cryptids, aliens, ghosts, you name it. The BCC boys talk about it. You can tell they just love what they do.
We
I
really
recommend
do.
this podcast to anyone who loves the paranormal and having a good time. 5 stars.
Yeah, you know what else we love, Ricky? Are you and 5-star reviews? Thanks for that.
Thank you, Ricky. We love you. Okay, let's get into the show. Riley, get ready because Bryce has brought in some very surprising... BCC News. So last year's theme, Big Hairy Summer, has been trying to make a quiet comeback this August.
It always happens.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we had the story and the photo about the Squatchlet. By the way, we were corrected. So many people sent us messages naming baby animals that end in let, like owlet, piglet, etc. We get it.
We get it.
We get it. We just don't like
but-
Squatchlet.
Yeah, come on.
I'm going with Squatchling.
This is the number one cryptid we're talking about. Give the thing some respect.
But now Bryce has stumbled upon yet another Bigfoot photo that has caught his attention. So, Bryce, what are you bringing in as this BCC news item this week?
Well, you know how I like to work. I actually didn't find this. This was sent to me. But from a very
Still
very-
caught your eye.
Yes.
Yeah.
A very trusted contact in the Bigfoot community. This is from a Facebook post in a group called Bigfoot Believers. Potential Yucca Man sighting on a trail camera in Joshua Tree, California. Now, I know you guys love a good desert squatch.
Yes, we love the Yucca Man.
Love the Yucca Man.
Classic
Take
BCC
a
episode
look.
with Aaron Hayes, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a look at this desert squatch. Pull it up now. And for those who can't see,
I'll put it-
pull over in your car and look at it now. No,
I'll
I'm just
put
kidding.
it up on the Instagram.
Michael
at
put it up on the
BigfootCollectorsClub.
Instagram. Riley, I'm going to pass you the phone here to take a look and describe to our audience this beautiful upright walking.
Now, the
cryptid.
Yucca Man is supposed to be a desert Sasquatch out in near Joshua Tree.
Yeah, Riley,
here
what do
in
you
Southern
see?
California.
I mean, it looks like a Yucca Man. It's a hairy bipedal creature in the classic pose.
Yeah, the classic
Black
pose,
and
which is
white.
I'm a little skeptical of the classic pose.
The pose is a bit skeptical.
Tell us about how beautiful that hair looks, though, Riley.
The hair is detailed and beautiful. We're talking like Farrah Fawcett level blonde.
I mean, this
locks.
creature shampoos and conditions. There's
Have you
no
seen
doubt
this,
about
Michael?
it.
Are you looking at? Are you
I
seeing
saw it
image?
this morning. I'm
Okay.
reserving my opinion
Okay.
until Bryce. Do you have any
Is
information
this
about
a
this?
single image?
It is a single image. I do like the reflection in the eyes is what's known as tapetum lucidum. That's an interesting aspect of this creature. You know, here's the problem with these Bigfoot photos.
Yes.
You know, we need authorship. And this is the problem with so many of these Bigfoot photos that get passed around some of these communities.
social media,
on
Facebook,
social
Instagram.
media,
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. We come up with a great photo of Bigfoot like this one. And I love this Bigfoot. It's like almost like he looks like a granddaddy Big Papa player, right? And I just love this face, the musculature. This is a really great Bigfoot costume, if it is a costume. But the problem comes when no one claims the photo.
So there's no story attached
No
to this?
story attached to it. No one has context of when or how it was taken. So, we've got to remain skeptical. Michael's chomping at the bit. Michael, go ahead.
This is 100% AI generated. This
Yeah.
is an AI. This is AI art.
Great. Thank you.
And I don't want to pop your bubble.
No, pop it.
But
please.
I think this is like it's like so good that it's fake and not in a like costume way, but like the plants look like AI, the rocks look like AI. This is like AI, and this is the and I think it's important that you brought this in because here we go, everybody.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the age that we're entering in, and Bryce's point stands that if you're going to be posting this crap, cool or otherwise, because sometimes cool crap's cool crap.
Good album cover.
But
For
if you're going to
desert
be posting
site.
this stuff on social media, we have to have more than ever a story behind it.
Who took it?
When, where, why, and how. We need all of that stuff.
Because if you want to play with the big boys, and you want to put some shit out there, then you're going to need to lay claim to it and let the people decide.
Yeah, and then let us decide whether or not you're hoaxing it. But you got to do it. I think this is AI. It looks
I agree.
AI
Now.
generated.
You know what's
to me.
funny? It's like as a guy who plays with Midjourney, it didn't even cross my mind.
know.
You
That's
wanna
how
believe.
deep I'm in the rabbit hole.
I know.
It's actually you just pointed out a problem. I'm like in too deep. Like,
Yeah. Well, wait.
That-
You're just
Whoa.
realizing this now?
That's a great school. Yeah, you're totally right. Look, the nose is when I zoom into the nose, it's not properly made correct by AI.
Any extra fingers?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good. No,
It's
the
getting better
fingers
though.
are
This
great.
is better AI than it was a year ago
it's
and 2 years
improved.
ago. It's wild.
You know what though? My first red flag, and this is why I never even got to AI, was the pose. It's doing the Patterson Gimlin 352
because
frame,
the AI is
952
pulling
frame.
it
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
online.
and I say bullshit. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
There you go.
There
There
it
you
is.
go, everybody. We
Anyway.
gotta be. You know, I know everyone has their opinions about it in general, but it's
Down.
really bad for us. So you gotta have. It's bad for everybody, but you gotta have. You gotta have it. I know Riley's going. I mean, there's ways that it's a helpful tool.
It's yeah.
we're gonna have a-
This is not the.
But we
forum for me.
No,
you
but-
pretty quickly shot that down.
but
So
we're
they're not
gonna
fooling
have-
us yet.
We're gonna have lots of compelling, cool-looking, very realistic cryptid things that look like photos.
Oh, for sure.
And look like videos coming out in the next 5 years. That authorship is going to become very, very important.
Yeah.
Well, beware the AI.
Okay, let's dive back into the realm of flying saucers, shall we?
Please.
Let's do it. Okay, so when we last left off, it was summer of 1952, and the world was seeing flying saucers, whether it was due to an uptick mass market appeal or an uptick in cosmic visitations, or both. People were seeing flying discs, and in some cases, their occupants.
Lucky dogs.
And that was only in April and May. July and June. But July was about to get real wild. As mentioned last week, according to Project Blue Book's records, the USA Air Force's UFO research program, spearheaded by Edward J. Ruppelt, the number of UFO events called into the program jumped from 148 in June to 536 in July.
Wow.
That's a spike.
Yep. And those were only the ones reported to Blue Book.
Yeah, we've talked about this. So we like to think of it as a 1 to 10 ratio.
Yes, 100%, 1 to 10. So it's time, everyone, for the invasion of the flying saucers, part 2.
Ooh, my favorite part.
Midsummer Madness. The title of this week's chapter comes from a Washington Post article that blamed the uptick sightings of UFOs on Cold War anxieties and something called Midsummer Madness. It's kind of like reefer madness, I think, but it happens in the middle of the summer.
I'm there, almost
We
there
are-
right now.
We are in the
Yeah.
throes
Fucking
of
throes
Midsummer.
of that
100%.
shit.
I think it was also. I think
I
Midsummer
can't
Madness.
wear pants at home. I'm just like
oh no.
pantsless.
You can barely wear them on this podcast. I think Midsummer Madness might have been the COVID variant of 1952. It's like instead of flirt, they had Midsummer Madness.
Yeah.
At any rate, longtime listeners or recent binge listeners may recall Bryce covering this subject way back in BCC episode number 10, the UFO invasion of Washington, D.C. with comedian Danny Jollis.
Wow. Yeah.
Old school.
Because, guys, we're going back to D.C.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about that high strangeness, Riley? Because I remember a few key points from that. The UFOs over Washington. Do you remember anything key about that?
The key point, the thing it
The
was.
key point of
Well,
UFOs over Washington.
Here's okay. I
There
guess
were
I
that's-
UFOs.
you know what?
They were over Washington.
That's about what I remember of it as well.
Well, here, okay, I guess I should just throw it in there. But well, so there's a famous, great photo that everyone thinks is the 52 flap over DC, and it's sort of laid claim as someone captured a photo of all the UFOs over the Capitol, I think it is. But what really it is the reflection of the lights on the mall.
Yes.
And so. Listen, that doesn't take away from what took place over Washington, but I always thought that was interesting.
That is.
Because I loved that photo. I was
Yeah.
like, look at this photo.
I'll say, and as we're going to get into, there weren't any photos of this stuff
Right.
because the majority of the flap over Washington in July of 1952 was all over radar. However, as we will discover, there were some eyewitness things being seen in the sky. And we're also going to, like, as we've been doing with this whole series, we're going to look at some of the other events that were happening around this time.
Which are important, always.
Absolutely. So here we go. Over the night of July 19th and 20th and July 26th and 27th, In 1952, several objects appeared in the night skies over Washington, D.C., hovering directly over both the White House, occupied by President Harry S. Truman, and the U.S. Capitol in what some like to think was a possible interstellar show of force. It all began around 11:40 p.m. on the 19th when 7 blips appeared on the radar at Washington National Airport. Alarmed by the erratic movement of the objects, air traffic controller Edward Nugent called his superior. I know, no relation to Tad as far as we know. Grandpa, Tad's grandpa.
Man. Yeah.
Edward Nugent called his superior, Harry Barnes, over to take a peek. The radar was showing these objects appearing where there were no known craft. And according to Barnes,
we knew immediately that a very strange situation existed. Their movements were completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft.
Startled by the object's behavior, Nugent and Barnes had the radar technicians make sure that the instruments weren't malfunctioning. They were not. They then phoned 2 other air traffic controllers stationed in a separate tower, Howard Coughlin and Jay Zacco, who inexplicably did not co-own a magic trick factory.
Coughlin and Zacco's Magic Emporium.
Come on. I mean, it's there for the taking.
And he took it.
You guys go for the air traffic control?
Yeah, what do you?
You guys you're wizards. You're a wizard, Harry. And it should be said for this story that Nugent and Barnes are actually stationed in a control room with no windows.
Okay.
They're not in a air traffic control tower. They're looking
at blips.
Okay.
They're looking at blips. They have no windows. They have no literal eyes on the sky, so they have to talk to guys who are in the tower. So
Right.
Coughlin and
Ground to
Zacco
tower.
are in their airplane
This is
Megorium.
Coughlin, go ahead.
So they call them. They claim they're also seeing objects on their radar.
right.
And what's more, Zacco has eyes on a bright light that zipped across the night sky at incredible speeds.
Wow.
The blips are beeping and booping all over the radar, and we're occupying airspace directly over the White House and the Capitol. Barnes calls nearby Andrews Air Force Base, located in D.C. Barnes thought that the position of the UFOs over these important places was immediate cause for fighter jet scrambles. Come on,
Sure.
guys.
Yeah, that's the next step.
We're under
them
attack.
jets.
Yeah.
Reminder, this is the era of the Cold War, and what these guys are most fearful of, more so than aliens, were rumored long-range Russian bombers that might show up unannounced and try to blow up the U.S. government.
Yeah, you see 7 blips on the radar, you're going to take some
Yeah.
action. Yeah.
However, there was a little problem. Andrews, their runways were under construction, so they couldn't actually scramble any jets at the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Where is this based in L.A.?
Yeah, exactly. And there were people that kind of look back on this case in the military and they're like, that's not a good look. The one Air Force base that's like right next to the
Right.
Capitol can't actually scramble any jets.
So those jets,
yeah.
how soon do you need them?
And the construction is like they're just painting number on curb blocks. Guys, we're working here.
Yeah. So the nearest base that could scramble fighter jets was in Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware, which was 100 miles away. Oopsie.
Scramble the National Volunteers. We
Yeah.
gotta-
So you're going to wonder why this all starts around midnight and the jets don't show up right away. It's because they're flying from over 100 miles
they're
away.
painting numbers on curbs.
So Andrews Air Force Base is also seeing the blips on their radars,
Wow.
bouncing around the scope like a high-speed game of Pong, which obviously hadn't yet to be invented. But then they get a call from one of the base's towers. An airman by the name of William Brady is sitting at his window in his tower, staring at a bright orange object in the sky.
An object which appeared to be like an orange ball of fire, trailing a tail. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before.
Before Brady can get more eyes on this ball of fire, however, it zips off and vanishes. So here we have 2 sets of air traffic control. One at DC's major commercial airport and the other at DC's major military bases, all saying they're seeing weird stuff. Not only on the radar scope, but 2 individuals reporting strange lights in the sky from their vantage points from their respective towers. Okay?
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of
So
cross
exactly.
corroboration.
So then back at the National Airport, Barnes's radio goes off. It's a commercial pilot named S.C. Pierman. Honestly, sounds more like a sea captain's name.
Captain Pierman.
He's sitting in his cockpit of his DC-9 on the tarmac, waiting for permission to take off. And he's telling Barnes that he's currently got eyes on 6 unidentified flying objects from his cockpit. He described them as looking all of them looking like bright white, tailless, fast-moving objects, like meteors without the tail.
Wow.
He watches them for about 14 minutes. They show up on the radar as well, both at at Andrews and at the National Airport before they zip off into the darkness. So as people are seeing them in real time, they're able to see them on the radar as well.
Wow.
Then at around 2 a.m., back at Andrews, the orange-red light returns south of the base, this time spotted by Staff Sergeant Charles Davenport working in one of the towers.
It would appear to stand still, and then it made an abrupt change in direction and altitude. And this happened several times.
What is he, Hicks from Aliens?
Sergeant, get it together.
I'm just sad about it.
Sergeant, that's a strange choice you've made for this character.
I know.
I'm confused.
Me too.
Then at 2:30 a.m., reports come in from Bolling Air Force Base, which is also nearby, that Staff Sergeant Don Wilson is in their mobile command tower looking at an amber light moving at a speed of upwards 1,000 miles per hour.
Oh, it's going down.
Wow.
And I should say that while everyone's looking at the radar and watching these things move, at one point they're like, these might be moving at 7,000 miles per hour.
What?
These things are zipping and zapping all over the place.
Dude, so they might be thinking if that's happening, maybe we're having a technical malfunction.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, what the hell's going on? The system's going haywire. But, you know, I mean, with all this, somebody's got to be, you know, that like they're gossiping, these generals. Somebody's got to be raising an alarm, right? Riley, generals gossip, don't they?
Well, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're all freaking out. I mean,
Right.
they are freaking out, and they just can't get jets there in time because Bolling,
Right, I forgot.
Bolling
Construction.
They're painting the numbers.
Right.
the other Air Force base, Bolling is like small,
Right.
and they don't have like the runway for fighter
They're like
jets.
launching single prop planes.
Yes.
Like, crop
It's
dusters.
it is. It's basically like a leftover World War I, like old school,
Yeah.
like
Hey,
Barnstormer
Jimmy,
airfield.
you up? They need you to fly something out there and take down a couple UFOs.
So at 3 a.m., just before a fighter jet from Newcastle finally arrives, all the objects suddenly vanish from sight. Barnes later told investigators that he thought the objects knew that a plane was coming and that they were observing the men observing them, because as soon as the jet
A lot
left
of observing.
the DC area after finding nothing in the skies, the objects returned on radar. And then, by dawn, they vanished with the morning light.
Tricky little boogers.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back,
No.
so do the flying saucers.
How do we get ad free?
All right, over break, you started mumbling something to yourself about what this
I mean,
sounds
this is like one of the more convincing stories I feel like I've heard on this show.
Really?
What?
Wow.
I mean, just the level of corroboration between
Yes.
technical things, eyewitnesses, people that are trained in aviation and how things work in the sky,
Yep.
civilian and military.
You know, this almost feels like a precursor to that big one where the Tic Tac incident took place out of San Diego,
100%.
where there were like jets scrambled, radar hits,
Totally.
like a fleet of these things. It's almost like this was that before then.
Well, yeah, and Bryce,
Played into it.
that's kind of the point that I was making last week.
Nice.
And over it, when we talked about that Life magazine article last week on the other side, this shit has been the same since it all started. It's not a precursor. This is what the phenomenon has been since it began.
Right.
So the Tic Tac stuff, Nimitz, all of that stuff is just, it's this.
The same old playbook.
It's the same thing. It's not a precursor. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
That's wild.
It's a merry-go-round. We're all on it, and we can't get off. So on July 21st, newspaper headlines read, "Saucers swarm over Capitol."
What if you get off on the merry-go-round?
The carousel of life. That'll be in my head for the rest of the episode. Just let that play.
As fate would have it, Captain Edward J. Ruppelt of Project Blue Book had been in D.C. that night.
What? That's
However,
suspicious.
he had only learned about the UFO activity when he read about it in the newspapers on July 21st, just like everybody else.
Embarrassing.
Imagine how he felt about that.
Seriously.
He was pretty miffed that the head of the literal official investigation into UFOs
Whoopsies.
had not been alerted to UFO activity directly above the nation's capital. Ruppelt went to his superiors in the military and requested a car so that he could drive around, talk to Barnes, talk to some of these people, investigate the case,
I love that.
question the eyewitnesses. But
That's what's called boots on the ground. That's
Somebody got me a
the
car.
first.
like-
Yeah, that's the first thing you need.
can
is
I
to
get a
fucking-
car?
Yeah.
And the DC military brass refused.
What?
They basically
poor guy.
telling Ruppelt that if he wanted to drive around town asking questions about flying saucers, he could go get a taxi.
Oh, burn.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Wow.
And I think this is like the
Well,
first.
should I save my receipts?
Because you have to remember that Ruppelt's based out of Dayton, Ohio, right? Wow. And I think that this is kind of the first taste of him going, wait a minute.
He's out of his league. Here.
I'm not really the thing.
Yeah.
They're really the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not really the thing. I'm the poster boy for the thing.
Oh, I love that.
And this isn't the thing.
Yeah.
The thing is the thing.
Yeah. So pissed, Ruppelt flew back to Dayton, Ohio. And I think he may have regretted that choice considering what happened 1 week later on the night of July 27th. It's happening again. That Saturday night, after a week full of buzz and mystery in the District of Columbia, the UFOs returned.
What?
Around 8 p.m. on July 26, a national airline pilot and stewardess reported observing lights flying above their airliner.
Here we go.
By 9 p.m., Andrews Air Force Base and national airports, the blips returned on their radars, showing up in every sector of D.C. Albert M. Chop, who you may recall as being the press secretary spokesman for the Project Blue Book, arrived at National Airport that night. He was able to get into the control room with Barnes and everybody, but was denied when he requested to take photos of the objects on the radar screen. They were like, no, national security, you're not taking pictures. So again, here's a guy from Project Blue Book. Can I take pictures of this thing as it's actually happening? I work for the military.
I've been tasked to study this.
And they say no.
Yeah.
Figures.
Yeah. And again, this time two fighter jets were scrambled from Newcastle, and then they arrived in D.C. around 11:30 p.m. Flight leader Captain John McHugo. I love the names in this story, by the way.
Oh, they're all so good.
They could not be more like either wizards or 1950s fighter pilots.
Yep.
John McHugo saw no visuals, but his wingman, Lieutenant William Peterson, saw glowing lights and pursued them. Ooh. But they moved too fast for his F-94 Starfire. And don't think that I didn't want to call it an F-94 Starfighter.
Man, to pursue glowing lights in your F-94 Starfighter.
Oh, God. Would be so great.
Yeah,
so Lieutenant Peterson.
I remember it.
Lieutenant
like it was yesterday.
Lieutenant Peterson told news reporters,
I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at maximum speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because, well, I saw no chance of overtaking them.
Albert M. Chop corroborated this story. He'd been at ground control when Peterson called in and asked the men,
You ding-dong son of a guns. I'll see them now. They're all around me, boys. What should I do?
And Chop had told reporters nobody answered because we didn't know what to tell him.
Somebody! Anybody! They're all around me! Oh, there's a bright light. Ah, I gotta poop.
Should we say anything?
I don't think we should.
I don't know what to do.
I'm pooping right now. Ah.
After midnight, the U.S. Navy radar specialist from the U.S. Air Force, Major Dewey Fournay, arrived to observe the situation. This is I love it when they're like, get the big guy down here.
We need Dewey.
We
now.
need Dewey Fournay. It was a hot, muggy week in D.C. because remember, it's in the middle of July. It's a swamp. And a temperature
Still is.
inversion, which could sometimes create false readings on radar screens, was present. But Dewey Fournay, Major Dewey, didn't think that could cause the, quote, good and strong, end quotes, readings that the men were seeing on their radars.
There's no way.
2 more fighter jets were scrambled, and again, one pilot saw nothing, while the other pilot claimed to have seen a bright white light that vanished when he approached it.
Wow.
When dawn finally arrived, the activity ended.
Must feel like a dream as a fighter pilot, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you've trained all your life. You're the best in the business. You have the best eyes, best ears. Like, I mean, you are America's best and finest. And then something is in the sky. Like, I don't know what this is. I'm going to go after it. And you do, and you're Starfire. And it then just like, what happens? It's
You're
like,
just
it must
reminded-
feel like a dream.
You're reminded that you're just a mere mortal.
Yeah. It must have been so trippy for these
I mean,
guys.
it would be cool to be like,
Yeah.
well, I shot down some Nazis and now I'm chasing some aliens. That's pretty fun.
It's a good life.
It's a good life.
A life well lived.
So the UFOs left DC without a trace. Headlines that week read, Saucers swarm over Capitol and jets chase DC sky ghosts. President Harry
That's
Truman was...
Very cool. DC Sky Ghost.
DC Sky
That's
Ghosts is
going
pretty great.
in that's it. That might be an album title
That
for
is a
the Shadow
tasty
Bats.
phrase.
It's great. DC Sky Ghosts.
Sky Ghosts.
Well, because they were vanishing, right? They were moving around.
Yeah.
They were like ghosts.
Good.
So
That's the
President
name of the new
Truman
album, boys.
was Truman was not pleased. He wanted to know, how was it that over the course of 2 consecutive weekends, unidentified flying objects could invade the airspace over D.C.?
Valid question.
He wanted answers. So who did he call? He calls up Edward J. Ruppelt because he's the UFO guy. You know, Ruppelt's been home for
so
a week.
he's told.
Trying
Right.
to figure this out. And kind of pissed about everything. And Ruppelt offered the half-baked theory of temperature inversions. This idea that like temperature inversions can create fake stuff on radar scopes. Although Ruppelt himself would eventually eliminate that possibility from his list of explanations. Yes, Bryce.
Michael, when are we going to post all these albums? I mean, Applesauce Sings.
Bryce, right now
The
is not
Dream
the
Sweat. I
right
know,
now is
but
not the time.
These
We'll talk
you're
about it
right.
later.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's talk about it
in
later.
the middle of the story.
Like
Sorry.
like Riley's working on a score right now.
Yeah,
We've
I
had
know.
to stop all
I
that.
get distracted.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
DC Sky
I'm telling
Ghost
a
was
good,
so good
yarn right now.
I'm
spinning
into
a
it.
yarn.
That's why I'm there.
All of you, put your phones down. So Ruppelt says, Mr. President, I don't know. Maybe it's temperature inversions. Maybe these are false readings on the radars. Although he doesn't really believe that. And he's later going to the official explanation from Project Blue Book is going to be unknown.
Oh, wow.
But the public wanted answers, and Temperature Inversions was a song that the top brass of the USAF didn't mind singing for them. On July 29th, the largest press conference since World War II was held at the Pentagon.
That's big news.
It was one of the first times, if not the first time, that the military directly addressed the public about the subject of UFOs. I don't think it's the first time, but it's one of the first times. And they did so without the help or insight of Project Blue Book.
I feel like they're just trolling them at this point.
100%.
Wow.
And just think, remember, in April, this Life magazine comes out saying Project Blue Book is the thing.
Yeah.
Project Blue Book is researching this. If
Yeah.
you see something, contact Project Blue Book.
Right.
And then
And
they just
now,
step right on their
As
toes.
soon as this shit shows up over Washington, D.C., the military's like, what the fuck? Who do you think you are?
You know
now
what?
the Pentagon. Now it's the Pentagon's fucking problem.
Same
Right.
same playbook in Roswell too. Something happens, they drop a headline, and then boom, toes get stepped
That was
on.
also Truman, right?
Yeah.
And if Truman
There's
was
a pattern emergent,
if
is what I'm saying.
Truman was the one who told Admiral Kelly to redact that story, then Truman, then we could assume, Truman knows that aliens are real because he got the debriefing at Roswell.
Yeah.
And now he might be thinking this shit's back. And this might also be explaining why the Pentagon is suddenly like,
listen,
kicking Project Blue Book out of the room.
I think that's a safe assumption. If we can assume that any president had any inkling of any knowledge of extraterrestrials, it would have been Truman. He dropped the bombs, and that's when this exploded onto the scene.
So, again, they're trolling them. They're doing this conference. And during the conference, Air Force Major Generals John Samford and USAF Director of Intelligence, who's also USAF Director of Intelligence, and Roger M. Ramey, USAF Director of Operations, told the crowd of reporters that what most likely had caused the D.C. saucer scare was merely misreadings created by temperature inversions. This is the weather balloons of this
or
thing.
Swamp gas or whatever.
However, General Samford did admit a certain percentage of the volume of reports that had been made recently had been done so by credible observers of relatively incredible things. Yet he stopped short of suggesting that they were extraterrestrial in nature or that they posed any serious threat. To which I say, then why the fucking fighter jets, guys? Then why scramble? If you're not worried about these things, then why are you scrambling fighter jets?
Protocol.
To check and see if they're worried.
Yes, but it all goes back to this idea that if these things are real and they can outrun our jets and they're not Russian, they're not man-made, then the military can't protect us from them and they are irrelevant.
I tried so hard.
Bless you. Blowing your mind over there.
Blew my mind.
So flying saucer and UFO sightings dipped in August of 1952, but they were still higher than in June. They were in the 200s. Among the notable sightings reported to Project Blue Book included August 19th. A scoutmaster from Florida, Sonny Desvergers, claimed to have been attacked by a flying saucer in the Everglades.
Really?
Yeah, Sonny D. You remember? That's our recent episode that we did over on the other side.
Sonny
Grabbed a
D,
machete.
the scoutmaster and his advanced child.
Yes. Sonny D left 3 Boy Scouts in the car, grabbed a machete, got out, investigated a flying saucer.
As I remember now with the machete. I like Sonny D.
Go check that out over on the other side. So that, and Ruppelt came in and checked that one out. And imagine the bad mood he was in after this DC stuff. And then he has to go down to the Everglades and be like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Arriving in a cab.
Yeah. On August 24th in 1952, a man from Frontenac, Kansas, near Pittsburgh, named William Squires, saw a glowing blue object that looked like 2 turtle shells glued together, held aloft by propellers, while he was driving through the woods. He could see within the craft where he spotted a humanoid being in what appeared to be the control cabin. So I had to look into this story further, being from Kansas. And I found this from the NICAP website. About 5:30 a.m., August 25th, 1952, while Squires was driving to work from his home in Frontenac, Kansas, he saw a low hovering object with clearly defined windows in a heavily wooded area about 7 miles northeast of Pittsburgh. No H. Pittsburgh, Kansas, not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My hair rose straight up on the back of my head, he said when reporting the incident later. He described the object as resembling 2 turtle shells or 2 oval meat platters placed edge to edge. I don't know. All I know is there's 2 things I get meat out of. One is a meat platter and the other is a turtle shell.
Very 50s references, yeah.
Placed edge to edge. Along the rim where the two halves joined, he noticed a series of small propellers 6 to 12 inches in diameter.
Love that.
Projecting outward at close intervals all the way around the object.
I'm getting total
tiny
Teenage
propellers.
Mutant Ninja Turtle vibes.
Very
100%.
Like their air
This is
balloon with the propellers.
Yeah.
This is a toilet taxi. These propellers were revolving at high speed. Squires says that the object was about 75 feet long, 45. This is huge. 45 feet. A lot of these are like 9 feet long. 45 feet wide and
Mothership.
25 feet high, and was rocking slightly back and forth as it hovered over a field near the highway. The body was a dull aluminum color. Across the top and extending down to the rim of the object were several rectangular windows through which Squires could see a bluish light fluctuating from dark to light. He observed considerable activity behind these windows, but it was obscured like a window shade pulled down.
Probably fucking.
I could see figures behind it. Forward of these windows was another rectangular window, which was clear, and through it the witness could plainly see the head and shoulders of a single man sitting motionless and facing the forward edge of the object.
What's all the activity then? What's he doing in there?
I don't know, but Squires said, "I definitely saw a human being through the window." He turned off the motor of his car, got out. He could hear a steady throbbing sound as he approached on foot to within 100 feet. The object suddenly rose straight up into the air and out of sight, making a sound like a covey of 100 quail taking off. That's another 50s reference for you.
You all know what that sounds like, of course.
You know what? You know what just came to my mind are like those anglerfish in the ocean that like, you know, imagine the UFO, like the pilot is not really a pilot. It's just a part of the craft. It's like a distraction. Like those anglerfish use like their little antenna like it's a pretend fish.
So there's like a pretend guy in there?
Yeah, it's like a little pretend pilot. It's not even a person or a thing, so it's not doing anything. It's probably like maybe the end of a tail that looks like a human or something.
That's fun. I like that. The vegetation beneath the object was blown about as the object rose up. Squires was convinced that the object was piloted by humans and not some men from Mars. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
The witness returned to the scene later with officials from the radio station who verified the fact that the vegetation appeared disturbed, like the backwash of where the thing took off.
We're here right now with the vegetation. We can tell by looking at it it's been disturbed.
Apparently by tiny propellers.
Tiny propellers and little leg marks.
I'm vegetation and I've been disturbed. Later investigation by Air Force officials confirmed these findings, and the reliability of the witness was termed good in the official report from Project Blue Book, which was, if you want to know,
which means nothing now.
Report number 14.
Which is meaningless now.
Here's another fun one.
How's your book report going?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, write my paper for me. Well, God damn it. On Lamberton, North Carolina, on August 27th, 1952. And I got to tell you guys, I saved the best for last year.
Oh, boy.
Okay. All right.
A man named James J. Allen claimed that a 9-foot-long flying saucer crashed into his chimney and then landed on the front lawn of his house.
Incredible.
A little man about 30 inches high, in some stories 70 centimeters high, so he's somewhere between like action figure size and like Hobbit size.
Okay.
Got out. The man asked the tiny being if it were hurt, but received no answer. The being got back into the saucer and flew away. And I've got the newspaper report from this story here. If I can pull it up easily here, I will read to you. Alan said, the saucer was 6 feet high and 8 feet long and was lighted on the inside. It was orange in color like it was in the air. The lights, went out when I walked towards it, and then when I got within about 10 feet of it, there appeared to be a small man about 30 inches high standing beside the object. When I asked if it was hurt, it went away in a whiff. Then it made a loud noise like the air whirling, whistling, and then the saucer was gone. Sorry, this is very tiny print, and I barely can read.
You did it.
It's like photocopy of a really old newspaper.
Right.
I love this idea of this tiny little man being like, clang.
Are you all
flies
right?
back off. Yeah. Just pissed that he ran into this guy's chimney.
So is the chimney was destroyed?
Yeah, he ruined his chimney.
I know. I could really use a chimney picture here.
I know. Well, it's in the newspaper. Right? I'll put it in the. There's a
picture of the broken chimney.
There is a picture of the broken chimney.
Oh, great!
Here in the newspaper.
Well, there you go. Okay.
His chimney was broken.
Well, that adds veracity.
It does.
I like that.
People came out. They reported it.
Yeah, so it's not just print; it's photo too.
Do you think this is a cover-up of just the wildest drunken accident?
Could be. Somehow he got his car
my
up.
God,
Broke my chimney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've really done it this time.
yeah.
Threw a pizza up there.
Well, you better figure something out, Terry.
Then September rolled around, bringing with it one of the most interesting UFO cases of all time. On September 12th, flaming objects were spotted once again over Washington, D.C., appearing from the skies over the Atlantic Ocean and heading west, zipping over Maryland, Tennessee, Ohio, West Virginia, regular Virginia. According to UFO researcher and author Frank C. Fascino Jr., there were at least 3 separate UFOs, which were reported as meteors or meteorites, that were spotted by multiple eyewitnesses over dozens of towns and cities.
Wow.
Despite their fiery appearance, the celestial objects would change speeds, alter directions. We're talking right angles, 45 degree angles, 180 degree angles,
Wow.
dissolve before people's eyes, burst into many sparkling pieces, then reappear a town over, and even appeared to land at intervals in rural areas. In many instances, witnesses thought that they were seeing, and described in multiple newspaper reports, that they thought they were watching a damaged passenger plane headed for a crash landing.
This is unbelievable.
This is all over the night of September
Wild.
12th. And one of these objects, one of these 3 meteor-like objects, which originated over Washington, D.C. and lit up the late summer skies lit up this late summer skies before colliding into a rural hillside in Braxton County, West Virginia, and a little town we know as Flatwoods.
Oh, shit.
We'll return next week for the final episode of our Invasion of the Flying Saucer deep dive and the finale of Wet Hot Alien Summer 3, Saucerama.
Ooh, can't wait for part 3, my new favorite.
We're coming back to an oldie but a goodie, everybody.
Wow,
After many years.
Why?
of the
That was
show.
meaty.
Why is Roswell so famous when this, I don't know about it.
No shit.
This is more compelling almost.
And the thing about Roswell too is it wasn't famous until later. Because it was famous for the minute when people were like, they got one of these flying saucers.
Yeah,
and
right.
then once they went, sorry, it was
Story
just a weather
blew
balloon.
over.
It blew over. It wasn't until the late
Captain
70s.
Colonel J. Corso's book, The Day After Roswell.
And our friend Andrew, Stanton Friedman, started to go, wait a minute, what's up with this story? Basically, like, people were like, why did they report they shot down a flying saucer or they recovered a flying saucer? And then it was covered up.
Never mind.
And then they were like, maybe we should talk to some of these people who are still alive. And that's when, as we know, they started to go, hey, I'm going to be dead soon.
Yeah.
And they found out that they had been threatened and their families had been threatened to keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to if these things are extraterrestrial in nature or if they're at least beyond our technical capabilities and we can't do anything about them, then the government can't fucking admit what they are,
right?
Because they're irrelevant.
Bingo.
So it's all it is. It's that simple. So then things like Project Blue Book are like designed to be a public smokescreen and to really debunk this shit.
Field the calls.
And I think the Pentagon was not necessarily, and you have to remember too that even people that are going to be in the Pentagon in 1952 may not know the truth about what happened at Roswell too.
Most likely.
All this stuff's getting compartmentalized over the years.
Sure.
So I think they're not actually taking it seriously until this happens over Washington 52, and they're like, wait a minute, this is making us look bad.
Yeah. Wow. This is it's a major story. Really
big
blew my
story.
mind.
Yeah. All right.
Mine too, brother.
All right, what do you think, Bryce? Anything you want to add to that or thoughts you want to put on top of that before we move on?
I like that segue, buddy. Great. I'm excited about next week's Flatwoods Monster.
Me too.
That's that beep boop bop OG shit.
It's all gonna wrap up there.
Like a robot monster insect gas compelling creature from the Black Lagoon alien.
It's fun stuff.
He's got it all.
He's got it all. All right, before we head over to Collector's Corner, let's thank some Club Scouts who have recently joined us over on BCC. The other side. It's time for some Patreon shout-outs.
Woohoo!
Joel Dillon.
Thanks, Joel.
Kimberly Stubblefield.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Ty Bailey, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Ty. Welcome.
Aaron Dave.
Thanks, Aaron.
Wesley Lilly, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Wesley. Welcome.
Josie Family, Cosmeteer.
Josie Family, Cosmeteer.
Gordon Steinberg.
Thanks, Gordo.
Giselle Hollows.
Thank you, Giselle.
Joshua Little.
Thanks, Josh.
Lorna Sutton.
Thanks, Joel.
Deidre.
in the house.
Marissa Roll.
Thank you, Marissa.
And Dale Stair, a.k.a. Nightmare Zodiac. Favorite name of the week,
That was
Cosmeteer.
Nightmare Zodiac.
Yeah. Wow.
Welcome.
That's really good. Join us at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock total access to the BCC with 3 bonus episodes every month, instant access to the entire exclusive episode archives, the BCC Discord, and much more. Upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership to unlock 3 music tracks from ultra-terrestrial producer Riley, as well as ad-free episodes every Wednesday, like the one you're listening to right now. Okay. Let's swing by the Collector's Corner, guys. What are you watching, collecting, consuming, listening to,
All right,
kissing?
I got one. I've been doing this a lot lately.
Okay.
So, coming back from some Bigfoot ventures and then launching right back into LA, I've sort of, missed the woods. And so I've been spending a lot of time in my hammock, and I play these sort of nature sounds on YouTube. I'm pretty sure my neighbors are like, "What the? Is there a fucking creek back there?" Like, I
love that.
Where are these birds coming from? But I don't know. It just sort of just gives me the vibe of like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little somewhere outside of the city. So that's what I've been doing. Just trying to, slowly ease my way out of the forest.
That's got to be a hard switch to go from Bigfoot country back to like heart of Los Angeles.
Man, it's like a slamming of the brakes. That's why I think I was doing this. I was like, oh man, I miss the woods so much. I'm just gonna play some wood sounds.
I love it.
I like that. Yeah, you just listen to nature sounds in your hammock.
Yeah, you got them in your backyard, fucker.
What about you, Riley?
I can't stop thinking about the album titles and song names that you tried to bring up in the middle of the story.
Oh
Can you bless us with some of those? That's what I need to hear.
The way to do this is really, and Michael and I have talked about this, but we should really start posting a couple of these albums with their song
but
titles
I want to do it with
on
art,
Instagram.
not just the titles.
That would be so great. Yeah, you know what?
It should be.
Yeah,
let's make another big promise. We'll start doing some AI art.
Well, I also want to.
We'll make some albums.
I don't want to make art. Yeah, I actually want to write some of these songs. So I'd rather just save it.
Michael, do you know how many albums and songs there are?
Yeah.
We're like at 6 albums,
That's
50 songs.
Just rattle off a few for me.
I can't find my phone.
As far as things, Tomy's got our new 8-minute album, Tomy.
Yep.
That's out. Listen to it. It's fun. Pom Pom's Main Meat is out. That's a full length.
Nice.
That's it for now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to thank. There's been a few Club Scouts who've swung by my startup eBay store.
Nice.
Which is not officially named yet. As of this recording, it's still just me, Michamac7, MICHAMAC7 over on eBay. I'm gonna start. I might put a link to the shop in the show notes of this.
Do it.
But I have actually a lovely story. So there's been a couple people. Raven, hello, thank you. And then the other day I'd found, when I brought a bunch of stuff back from my parents' house after my mother passed, I'd found in a tub of things an old, from the 90s, it was a C-3PO Bendum, those like wiry bendy guys.
Yeah, sure.
And I only have one of these, and I was like, I don't need this. I don't want this. And I was like, I'm going to put him up on my eBay shop. And he was one of the first things that I took a photo of. And I didn't put him up for a couple weeks because I kind of felt sorry for him, because I was worried I was going to put him up there. He's worth maybe $4. And I was just like, I'm worried just nobody's going to want this. Right. So I put him up, and I even said to Kate, I was like, I put up this the Star Wars Bendum that someone will want this, but I'm just worried no one will take him. And lo and behold, I get this message from a Club Scout named Tom. Tom, if you're listening, and who bought it almost immediately.
Cha-ching.
And he was like, Michael, I'm a big BCC fan. I was so excited to see this pop up. I'm paraphrasing here because I used to collect these when I was a kid, and I lost my C-3PO.
Whoa.
And I heard about your eBay shop on the show, and I went, and there was the C-3PO there.
No
it was like,
way.
It was a moment of
That is
synchronicity.
wild.
I was so excited.
You
So
feeling that, Tom?
I threw in. I did a little doodle of I think either the Flatwoods Monster or the Hopkinsville Goblin. I did one for Raven as well. Put in some buttons in there. I put in some stickers.
You
so
do it right. Look
I
at you.
gave a little
Look at you.
BCC goodie. So if
Nice.
you're there and you order something, let me know. Let me know that you're a Club Scout, and I'll toss in some fun stuff for you.
That's
Great.
cool.
But
Great.
stay tuned. I'm gonna be like
He's mixing it up
I'm
over
gonna be
there.
doing some Etsy stuff too. I think.
It's like a haberdashery.
Yeah.
I love that word.
So stay tuned. I'm gonna
Does
be.
that just mean hat shop?
I think it's
Yeah.
not
it's
not
not really that.
necessarily.
A haberdasher's
a haberdashery is a collection of items in a shop. It's,
That's kind of what I thought it was.
yeah. So it's
Isn't a haberdasher a hat maker?
That's
Well,
kind of what I think it actually
a
means.
haberdasherer. Well, now you got me looking
looking.
it up.
It's an emporium, oddity emporium.
Yeah, that's
It's
perfect.
men's-
an oddity emporium, and it's men's.
It's
yeah.
men's clothing and accessories.
Yeah,
So it's not really that.
And in British, it's small items used in sewing, such as buttons, zippers, and threads.
Yeah, and this
Not
is
really
off
that
of
either.
our follow-up album.
It's an emporium.
Emporium.
It's an emporium.
It's Michael's Magic Emporium.
It's the
I love it.
Mothman's Midnight Market.
There you
soon
go.
to be.
Yeah. And
I
then-
love those internet synchronicities, though. That stuff is great.
Isn't that great?
Oh,
That
it's so
and
cool.
you know what,
Yeah.
Tom, you really made my day because I was really worried that no one was going to love that.
It's perfect.
3PO.
Yeah.
There he
Supposed
goes.
to go.
And Riley, I found a couple
right,
tracks
yeah,
here
while we
for
are-
you.
Yeah.
Here's a couple good ones off the BJ Shadowbats follow-up album: Dick Tubes, Cosmic Sister, and Ghost Smoke, Tip of the Flame.
Okay,
just
some
a
of
couple
these-
songs.
I think some of these are first draft material.
Yuppie Warlock is on album number 3. Oh, and then after our third album came Sex Existence or Sexistence.
Sexistence.
Yeah, well, that's where Yoke
Sexistence.
Alchemy, track 8, and then Rocky Knockin' Boots, Alien on the
Knockin' Boots.
Alien on the Run. Oh my God,
We have
Applesauce
to-
Sinks.
These are good.
Applesauce Sinks came out with that with Bigfoot Edgelord as number 9. Number
go
10,
through.
Simple
Oh,
Horse
man.
Mathematician. So there's a bunch of them here.
Wow.
We're gonna edit. We'll figure it out.
All right.
everybody. Don't forget to check out BCC The Other Side for even more Saucerama fun. Hit up that TeePublic shop.
Yes.
If we don't see you either of those places, we'll see you back here next Wednesday for an all new episode of BCC and the conclusion to Wet Hot Alien
Don't miss
Summer
that.
3 Saucerama. It's going to be a big episode. Come and see us. We're so excited. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed.
Come on, give me more. Rattle them off.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, this is off. Let's do Sexistence. Lesser known gnome. Bat Dog, the better Batman. A 70s Celtic. Do you remember the Celtics? A paranormal charcuteries. Animal mixations. Oh,
Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to The Other Side, check out patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.